What's good, everyone? What's good, everyone? What's good? It is I, the Maze Madman, doing it a little different today. We're going straight through the YouTube app instead of using StreamYard today. It's the first time I'm doing this, so let me know how it looks and sounds. Also, Moose, you are absolutely right. Michigan's 2024 schedule is ridiculous. That being said, Florida might have an argument for the toughest schedule in 2024. I'm not sure they win any more than 2 or 3 games. Shout out to guy Mello was good. Ryan will not be joining me today, Mello. So we got he definitely has ordered that suit though, and as soon as it gets there, we're putting it on him. And he will be rocking that. Shout out my guy Bubba. How you doing, sir? Today we're gonna be talking about. This is gonna be a preview for Michigan's upcoming game against the Minnesota Golden Gophers in Minnesota. Back-to-back road games for the Wolverines. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. And Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh might be about to sign a contract, which is also excellent news. Michigan definitely needs him to sign due to the fact that I'm sure when the season's over and if he hasn't signed, there's going to be more NFL talk. There's going to be more rumors about him going to an NFL team. In fact, there are already rumors swirling about the Chargers. Apparently, you know, the Chargers head coach is out after this season, depending on how well or not they do. And Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh is right at the top of their list. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk a little bit about the other state because we have to, being that we are Michigan and they are them. Actually, we're not going to talk about the other state more so than we're going to talk about a former other state coach who was rumored to be taken or talking to Lil Bro Nim. Apparently, that's untrue. So we'll get into that a little bit. But of course, it is about the game. And Moose, absolutely. Rest in peace to Dick Buckus, NFL legend, football legend, former Chicago Bears legend. So rest in peace to Dick Buckus for sure. Let's start with the game. This one, Michigan, I think, is a 19-point favorite. I don't see Minnesota causing any issues or problems for Michigan. Michigan has an 87% chance to win this week. Not much different from the chance they had to win a week ago. The only difference is it's in Minnesota instead of in Nebraska. If we're being honest, they present pretty much the same sort of problems, right? They want to run the ball to open up the rest of their offense. Michigan's one of Michigan's strengths happens to be run defense, so it doesn't look like that's going to be an issue. They have a running back, Darius Taylor, who's having a decent year so far, but this is where the buck stops. This is where you have to pay those pipers, so to speak. And speaking of run games, Michigan trying to get their own run game off the ground. Last week, the offensive line dominated. The running backs looked good a week ago, so we can give them that. Plus, Michigan continue, or JJ McCarthy rather, continue to find Roman Wilson, which is also a great thing, including one catch where he put a Cornhusker defender in like a front face lock. It was the greatest front face lock touchdown catch I've ever seen in my life, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think I like PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck, the head coach of the Golden Gophers, came from, I think it was Central Michigan, where he did a good job. He's got a good offensive mind. The problem is he's not getting the best or the most quality players to go play for him in Minnesota. That's the issue. Minnesota, a proud university. They got a proud football history. In fact, they have a rivalry with the Wolverines. This game will be for the Little Brown Jug, which is in the Wolverines' possession currently. I expect it to be in their possession after this game. So there's that. But PJ Fleck and his offense just doesn't have a chance this week against the Wolverines in that defense. Right now, the Wolverines only allowing 6 points per game. That's the lowest in the country. That's under seven. That's under a touchdown and an extra point per game. They're allowing 6 points per game. That's about what I expect Minnesota to have after this one. But we'll get to my prediction. My prediction a little later. The Wolverines also boast the running back Blake Corum, who is tied with the leaders, two guys, I believe, one guy with 9 touchdowns in the country through 5 games. Three guys. Blake Corum has 9 touchdowns through the first 5 games of the season, and Roman Wilson also tied for the lead in the country with 8 receiving touchdowns. So I don't expect much difference there. I expect Blake to get in to find the end zone a couple times. I expect Roman Wilson and JJ to continue that connection. They find the end zone a couple times as well. Hopefully, though, JJ can, spread the wealth a little bit, find some other guys, mainly uh, Cornelius Johnson, and even like a Darius Clemens, even somebody like that. So definitely looking to spread the wealth. Let's take some questions really quick before I continue. Michigan 45-10 sounds like a legit score to me. That's even given Minnesota, above what Michigan is allowing per game. 48-10. I'm seeing a lot of people in the 40s. Mullings is RB2 now. Pure Montana. That is strong. Look, Khalil Mullings is playing very well right now. And I know Donovan Edwards hasn't been completely healthy. He just released a statement, though, saying that he is 100% healthy now. My guy Bubba 45-3. I see you. That sounds about right. I'm going to go. I'll give my prediction later on, but that's around what I would say that's more likely the score, in my opinion. But back to the running back two thing. Khalil Mullins is playing his butt off. We can't ignore that. Donovan Edwards hasn't been as stellar as he was towards the end of last season. But as somebody pointed out to me, Donovan Edwards is right about where he was at this same point in the season a year ago. Now, granted, we are expecting growth. We were expecting to see him take another step, especially early in the season. But like he said, he's been battling some things. And hopefully now that he's 100%, we do see that progressions. I know that progression rather. I know the coaches still believe in him. Coach Mike Hart still has all the faith in him. Coach Jim Harbaugh still has all the faith in him. So I have no choice but to believe that Donovan Edwards will improve. And skill for skill, it's not even close, right? For as good as Khalil Mullins has been, Donovan Edwards is running back too in terms of his skill set. So that is not a question for me. Someone points out, Pure Montana again points out that Mason Graham will be returning for this game. If you watched my previous video, I brought that up. Mason Graham is expected to be returning for this game, which is a huge boost to the defense that really doesn't need a huge boost, but absolutely it is great for them in terms of building some cohesiveness with the guys that will be the starters on that defense. So that's a huge plus for Michigan for sure. Gopher steak and potatoes. I mean, it's like I said, it's not much that I think that they can do. This I know a lot of people have been pointing out and have been saying that Michigan hasn't played anybody. Um, but I think it's a little disrespectful, at least to teams like Minnesota, to teams like Nebraska. Granted, those teams aren't having the best years. We know that it's kind of lean for them right now, and they don't have, they're not where they want to be. That being said, they're still a Big Ten team. They're still a Power Five team, right? It's not like we can go to sleep and expect the Michigan name to win the day. It's not how it works. You still got to go out and play the games, and I'm sure that they're not thinking or they don't have rollover in their vocabulary right now. Before we go any further, make sure you hit the like button. Be sure to share this video. We got 14 people in here, only 4 likes. Let's get those likes up. Let's get the likes to match the amount of people in here for sure. Let's go back to the comment section. I'll take some more. questions and comments here. The Wolverines and the Tsunami. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I expect the same. Rutgers also, they're a good football team, 4-1, blowing out everyone they played in their wins. Absolutely, Moose. That's a great point. And I know I was being a little facetious a couple weeks ago when I said that juggernaut Rutgers or whatever. They're far from a juggernaut. I know that, but that's a quality football team. Greg Schiano is a great football coach, and it's just a matter of time before he has them back in a position to be competitive with the top level of of the league of our league. So I think Rutgers is a team to keep an eye out for, especially with Greg Schiano. That's assuming he doesn't get a better opportunity because I'm sure they're going to be coaches or schools calling him after this year, especially if they keep on the trajectory that they're on right now. So we'll see what happens. BGSU beat Bowling Green, beat Georgia Tech. Absolutely. The thing is, Michigan is making a lot of these teams look like lesser versions of themselves, right? It's just a fact. It's not just that Michigan is or not just that these teams aren't good, because a lot of these teams are good. Rutgers is a good team. Bowling Green isn't a horrible team. It's just that when you play Michigan and the things that you like to do that Michigan is able to take away, you will look like a lesser version of yourself. And that's what everybody has been. Moose says 56-3. 56 is a lot of points. This was last year's Michigan team. I think 56 would be super attainable, especially with the rules. Now with the running clock, 56 seems a little less attainable. But with the way that Michigan wants to play, by the way, I'm not saying Michigan, if they decided to score 56, they could score 56. It's just that the way that the team plays, it's very methodical. I think Joel Clapp might have brought this up that, they're like a boa constrictor more than flashy, right? So there's that. Um, but yeah, I agree, Moose. It's going to be very one-sided. 56 though, I think is a stretch. I'm gonna be a little more be a little closer to 40 myself. Will Johnson's been subpar so far. Yo, you know what? That is a good observation. Will Johnson has not been the Will Johnson, the freshman All-American Will Johnson, but again, he's just getting back from an injury himself. I do expect him to work himself into form. And though he's not been himself, he's still an elite level corner, even with the level that he's playing at right now. Moose GB, yeah, somebody pointed that out. I brought that up. Bowling Green beat Georgia Tech for sure. Will Johnson coming back from injury, still working, absolutely. And I think that's the case, right? As soon as Will Johnson has more game time under his belt, he'll be back to the Will Johnson that we all know and love. So I have no worries about Will Johnson. I do. Here's a guy to keep an eye out on. Mike Sanders still apparently has been dealing with a little bit of an injury bug, and yeah, Mike was burned at least once for sure. He's been dealing with a little bit of an injury, so it'll be interesting to see if he plays this week and how much he does play this week. A guy that I have been very surprised and very happy to see play well is Keon Sabb. Keon Sabb has looked phenomenal in the times that he's been out there. When he's played for Rod Moore or when he's played for Makari Page, he looks like the real deal. And he's a big kid. He's covering a lot better than he was a year ago. He's reading plays better. He's coming up in run support. He looks like the real thing, and I think he's going to be a superstar for the Wolverines in short time. Last week, here's a crazy stat. You guys want to hear a crazy stat? A crazy stat last week. 74 players traveled with Michigan to Nebraska to play that Nebraska game. 72 of the 74 played in the game. That's how deep Michigan is going in these games. A lot of people are saying that they, aren't winning in the most impressive fashion, although last week would be nobody could say that last week, but in the previous weeks, even winning 30 something to 6 or whatever, which is crazy. I don't understand how that's not impressive, but people just nitpicking. When you're at the top, you get a lot of nitpicking, so I understand it. But some people were saying that they didn't believe that the Wolverines were winning in the most impressive fashion, but when you're going 3 and 4 deep on your on your bench, then I don't know what more they want. 72 of 74 players is insane. It's not a lot of not a lot of college teams out there doing that. Yeah, think about that for a minute. Aiden and Ojabo were masters dropping into them passing lanes for sure. And look, I think if you give it time, I think Chris Jenkins is a guy that can be in that same mold. I like McGregor. He has the opportunity to be in that same mold. Man, Stewart really showed out in the time that he got to play last week against Nebraska. I think he's a potential standout for Michigan this season. So it's going to be a lot of guys. Derek Moore, a younger guy, but getting some opportunities out there. So I think it's going to be a really pass rush by committee this year with guys like maybe Chris Jenkins and Stewart standing out the most. But those don't forget about that interior because Grant and Graham are absolute beasts. And I think that they have either one of those guys has the potential to lead the Wolverines in sacks. Let me know what you think about that. I predict Junior Colson will have an interception this week. Linebacker linebackers been playing well for Michigan this year. I got to give it to them. All three of those guys, Barrett, Colson, Hausman, they've been looking pretty decent this year. Who's better to you, Denard or McCarthy? That's a good question. I think pure passer, JJ, pure runner, Denard. If you're asking me who's better altogether as the all around package, give me JJ. He does things that I don't think even Denard could do, and that's saying something because Denard was a phenomenal athlete, maybe the greatest athlete, one of the greatest athletes to ever come through Michigan. But things that I'm talking about are really like rolling to your left, throwing across your body, or even throwing down the line, rolling to your left. Denard, that wasn't really in his repertoire, but we just seen we just saw JJ pull that off last week. So and that's something that he does a lot. I think throwing on the run, JJ definitely notches above Denard. But Denard, the threat of Denard running is really what opened up a lot in the passing game for Michigan back then. But JJ does it. He skins the cat just a different way, in a more sustainable way, if you will, for the next level too. So I'll take JJ by a hair though. I like Denard's one of my favorite players of all time. So there's that. Shoelace had issues since he was limited in height. JJ 6'3" for short. Uh, Denard was definitely a shorter guy, but man, he could run. That's for sure. Media blasting JJ for risen his girl to the bench before game was over. I saw that. I mean, whatever. The media is gonna blast people regardless. Um, Really quick, let's get those likes up with the people in here. Make sure you share the live. Let's get some more people in. Um, and let's talk about it, man. Michigan football in a great position right now. Speaking of being in a great position, the president, Santa Ono, the only Santa we acknowledge is Ono around here, and he apparently has come down to get this contract negotiation, this contract situation straightened out with Jim Ward Manuel. Of course, Michigan's AD has had a long running policy of not negotiating contracts during the seasons, and that's for any sport. Ward, though, not the most, not everybody's favorite guy in Ann Arbor right now. I don't really have a problem with Ward. I know he's a little more hard nosed, a little more, or hard nosed isn't even the word I'm looking for, but he's a little more by the book, if you will. And that's when you're dealing with somebody like Jim Harbaugh, that's who's a little more quirky and outside of the box. You have to be a little more quirky and outside of the box. And Ward Manuel hasn't proven that he's willing to do that. And if there is a choice between Ward Manuel and Jim Harbaugh, we're taking Jim Harbaugh. No disrespect to Ward, who's done some great things in his time at Michigan, but Jim Harbaugh. All right. So right now, Jim's the fourth highest paid coach in the Big Ten, which is a travesty. Fourth highest paid is a travesty. a guy like Mel Tucker was getting more money than Jim Harbaugh, no disrespect to Mel, respectfully, but disrespectfully is disrespectful. That's crazy. He should never have been making more money than Jim Harbaugh. And we know the saying, I'm not going to get into that, but I think Jim Harbaugh easily is the best coach in the Big Ten. I made the argument a couple weeks ago or last week that Jim Harbaugh is the best coach, period. Maybe not the greatest coach, obviously. Well, obviously not the greatest coach currently. There are guys that have resumes that are better than Jim's. However, if it's just about X's and O's and getting it done, give me Jim Harbaugh over everyone, including Nick Saban, including uh, Dabo Sweeney, including Kirby Kirby Smart. I'm sorry. They all three of those guys may be greater than Jim Harbaugh. It's not even a maybe. They are at this point. They have resumes that suggest that. But Jim Harbaugh is better than all three of those guys. I don't care. Argue with your mother. Let's talk about it. Tuck running. I saw this. People have been saying that. Um, I will say this: for as much as we like to poke fun at Mel Tucker, and deservedly so, because what a joke of a job he did and had really run the program into the ground a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. That being said, it does look like the university used some nefarious tactics to get him out of there. Uh, I understand they clearly realized they overpaid for his services and they needed to get out from under that contract without having to pay that guy, what he was due on that contract. And so using any opportunity you can. I'm not saying that they put this woman up to what she claims happened. I'm just saying there are some underlining nefarious dealings there. We'll leave that right there, though. Ward got to go. I see a lot of that. Ward got to go. Brady was good, but not great at Michigan. Absolutely. Whoever said Brady was great at Michigan um, doesn't know ball. But shout out to Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time. And by the way, speaking of Tom Brady, of a major announcement, Tom Brady, and this is major. I'm breaking this for the first time here. Tom Brady's company Autograph reached out to your guy, the Maze Madman. We're gonna be working together. They have an app that's coming soon. In the next 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks from today, the Autograph app will be out. Um, I just got off the. I was just on a a Zoom call today with one of the reps there. Tom Brady, Maze Madman, working on something for you guys. It's um, gonna be beautiful. You download the app, you'll be able to. There's gonna be a leaderboard. You'll be able to see yourself move up and down a leaderboard under the Maze Madman section of that, and then there's going to be an overarching Michigan section of it. So it'll all play together. But I'm very excited about it, super excited about it. I'll tell you more as more information becomes available. But back to the Michigan season. And by the way, none of this would be possible without you guys. So thank you all. Uh, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. And Brenda Tracy is not innocent. You said that, Montana, not me. NFL Brady is the GOAT in the NFL for sure. Yep, that's without a doubt. College, he was pretty good, but nowhere near the best. Yeah, I agree with that too. But let's talk about it. Anybody worried about Minnesota? Anybody in this chat worried about Michigan's chances against the Gophers? I'm guessing that nobody's going to be worried about Minnesota and what they can do to Michigan. I'm really not. Their biggest strength is their run game. They if this was a couple years ago, maybe 2020, even though we went there and smashed them with Joe Milton of all people. But whatever. I watched the video of Brady beating Bama in '97. That was a great game, great comeback win. Actually, in that game too, I think he had to come back in the fourth quarter. Michigan was down like 21 points, and Brady brought them all the way back. So shout out to Tom. Less Minnesota can cause 6 turnovers, then I might be worried. Yeah, that's the only way. It's the only way they can do anything with the Wolverines. Um, what do you guys think of the contract situation with Jimbo and the university? Do you think he and Ward get it done? Do you think Santano coming in makes a difference? What do you think there? This Minnesota team is not great. Certainly not. Certainly not. Let's be honest. Michigan's gonna squeeze the juice out of the Gophers, just like they squeezed the juice out of 5 opponents to this point. I got a lot of heat for my Maze Madman top 25 list that I dropped. I shared that. Obviously, it's on the channel. You can check it out on Twitter. Follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. But I got a lot of heat for that because I moved Michigan up to number 1 in that ranking. Right. A lot of people were saying, even some Michigan fans were saying, Georgia should be number 1 until they lose. And I was even a strong believer in that. You guys know that. You heard me say it. I think Georgia's back-to-back champions deserve that latitude. That said, Georgia has struggled against inferior competition on more occasions than one this year, right? Michigan, in the same situations dealing with inferior competition, have treated inferior competition like inferior competition. Michigan is not out here playing, right? We're not playing with our food. We kill it, we eat it. Bottom line. It's that simple. That when you play around, you get bad results. And there's only so many times Georgia can play with fire before one of those turns into an L. This week they have Kentucky, a ranked Kentucky team who's coming off a big win against Florida. You think they can play with Kentucky and win? You think that running back Rayshon, whatever his name is, you think they can play with them and win? This guy had 206 yards before the half last week. At one point, he was averaging 20 yards per carry. Georgia can't play with them. But this is the deal. Georgia has a team full of guys that, and we don't really. There's no real marquee guy outside of Bowers. There's Bowers, and then it's just good Georgia players. I'm not impressed. I think Michigan right today would beat them on a neutral field. So I put Michigan at number 1. That's basically what it comes down to. And that's basically what my rankings come down to, other than wins and losses, right? If you lose, you got to be punished for losing. If you win, you should be rewarded for winning based on who you're playing. So there's that. Minnesota ranks in the top 10 NCAA against the pass. Uh, sure. Not worried about it. However, the contract will have been out since I believe Harbaugh will be headed back to the NFL eventually. Kentucky will upset them. That's a good one. That's sturdy. I don't know if Kentucky gets the win. I do think if it comes down, if they play like they played last week, Kentucky definitely beats them for sure. In terms of the out for Jim, I think Michigan is working hard to get that contract in their favor in terms of the buyout. So the buyout would be super high, would be sky high for anybody that wants Jim, and that includes an NFL team. I mean, if you want Jim that bad, it shouldn't deter you though. So there's that. Screw the NCAA. Yeah, those guys aren't necessarily getting Christmas cards this year from the fans or from some of these universities for sure. I'll tell you that. Um, I called them a couple months ago an antiquated joke of an organization. I stand by that. I still believe it. Are you a fan of the NCAA video games? Of course. NCAA 14, greatest football game ever made, in my opinion. It's pure Montana, pure as gold. Yes, 4 game stretch. Michigan can't get complacent, slack off because they're playing teams who aren't top tier. They've had some moments where they have absolutely. Look, they had some slippage against Bowling Green, and I won't say the team so much slip as it was JJ had a bad game, but you should expect that. JJ or any quarterback is gonna have a bad game every once in a while. I don't expect JJ to have a game like that ever again on any level, by the way. I think that's the worst game JJ will ever have moving forward. So there's that. Think Ward has animosity towards Hart for flirting with Minnesota last year during signing day. I mean, look, that's a possibility. We gotta all the possibilities are open. By the way, like the stream, make sure you share it. Let's get some more people in here. I agree with that. I mean, I don't necessarily agree that he should have animosity, but it makes sense. That's a logical thing to be upset about. Your head coach flirting with, an NFL team coming off the success that you had. So I understand it. I get it. But at the same time, you got to be professional. The fact that he came back, you allowed him back. So move forward. That's it. Bottom line, if you had that big of a problem with it, you would have told him to stay gone or to leave. If he wasn't gone, to leave. So I'm sorry, I'm hitting the table here. It's like shaking my camera. But yeah, so there's that. You cannot have it both ways. Ward Manual, you either fire him or give him the contract. And right now, firing him sounds as absurd coming out of my mouth as it would yours. So give him the contract. He should be the highest paid coach in the Big Ten at the very least, and that is without a doubt. Look, for all the noise that teams like Colorado is making, and they're making a lot of noise. For all the noise that trying to think of another team, maybe it's really just Colorado. Caleb Williams is the defending Heisman Trophy winner, so I guess you can throw USC in there. But Colorado is making a lot of noise, and for all that, Michigan is still must see TV. I think uh, Colin Coward said something similar. The thing is, Michigan is the number two team in the country right now, according to the AP, according to the Madman. He's their number one. And they are must see TV. And to even bring that point into greater light, everybody seen the 2024 schedule for the Wolverines, 2024 and 2025, if we're being honest. If you look at that schedule, it proves the point that Michigan is must see TV because the onus to carry the Big Ten mantle, that front running mantle, is on Michigan the next 2 years. While these other teams come in and get acclimated, right? Michigan has both Oregon and USC on the schedule both of those years. They have Washington on the schedule next year, in addition to Oregon and USC. Michigan is the talk of the town. Michigan is the leaders and the best. Bottom line, and that schedule proves that point. In addition to those teams in 2024, Michigan's still on the hook right now, as we speak now, to play Texas in 2024. Though everything can change because I'm sure Texas probably wants out of that because they're going to the SEC. Michigan might want the same because of the influx of talent that's going to be coming into the big. I hope it stays the same though. I know it sounds crazy to have that crazy of a schedule, but that's what's going to make you a great team down the line. And if Michigan can get through that schedule, by the way, I don't want to hear anything. And I fully expect them to get through that schedule next season. I'm not going to say unscathed. It's going to be very difficult because they're going to be losing a lot of talent this year, more talent than they lost last year, for sure, in terms of production. But it's all about reloading. The teams at the top reload. When Alabama was good for all those years, they lost guys every year. They just reloaded that talent. And in Michigan's case, maybe we're not acquiring the talent at that level and at that pace, but we are developing the talent better than just about everybody in in the country. In fact, I will go as far as to say Michigan is developing talent better than everybody in the country. So get the talent, develop the talent, replace the talent. That's the that's how the wheels move. That's how this thing keeps going. That's how the machine keeps going. Get the talent, develop the talent, replace the talent. See what everybody's talking about. Yes, Mike Hart done a great job with Mullings. Donovan, not so much. I mean, I think, obviously, again, Donovan's dealing with what Donovan's dealing with in terms of some injuries. Donovan is clearly the more talented of the two. Mullings is clearly getting the most out of what he's got right now. He's clearly producing better than Donovan right now. I don't expect that to be the story going forward, though. I think Donovan has a breakout game here. It might even be this week. The way they're talking, it could be this week. Also, something to watch out for right now. Blake Corum has 40 career touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. That puts him one behind his running back coach and the guy we're talking about, Mike Hart. One more touchdown with Ty, two more. Obviously, he moves into sole possession of fourth place on Michigan's all-time rushing touchdown list. I think right behind Denard Robinson, who is next on the list, if I'm correct. So that's something to look out for, and that could happen in this game. In fact, I expect that to happen in this game, at least the tie. But also, he could pass Mike Hart this Saturday. So that's something to look out for. Michigan trenches are far ahead of OSU and PSU. Penn State has some talent along their lines, both sides, but I do agree with you. Michigan is ahead, and as far as the other state, it's not even close. And that's another thing. That's an area where Michigan will be strong for years to come. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I was talking about was get the talent. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I was just, I was just all over it, guys. Get the talent, produce the talent, replace the talent, right? Um, and at in the trenches, Michigan is good. Michigan will be good for a long time. There's 30 people in here. We've got 13 likes. Let's get those likes to match the people, and be sure to share the live. Let me know what you think of Michigan and Minnesota this weekend. Let me know what you think about Michigan's chances of signing Harbaugh during the season, and I mean in the next couple of weeks. Let me know about that. Also, give me your thoughts on Michigan's 2024 schedule. It looks brutal, but I expect Michigan to do just fine. I expect them to be just fine. Penn State O line is not good. That's fair. Uh, they got talent on that O line, though. That's the point I'm making. They've got talent. Maybe they're not performing right now, but they've got talent. Now, Marshall Carpana will start. When Moose, when do you think that happens? I think Kaipana is a stud. I think Kaipana is a stud. I've talked about that uh in many a video. He is absolutely a beast. And I can't wait. You think he starts next year? I don't know about that. Next year's tough, especially if the Don comes back. If the Don comes back, then that's going to be a no. They won't be starting. Um, and you got guys like Cole Cabana, highly touted in-state recruit, very fast. It could be some that it's going to be a log jam at the running back position. I do think Marshall and Kaipana are elite though, and will be getting their touches for sure. The Happy Valley game is at noon. Thankfully, yeah, we talked about that before. Due to the greed of Fox and the networks, mostly Fox this time, that game will be at noon. Fox wants Michigan, Penn State for the big noon kickoff. They got Michigan, Penn State for the big noon kickoff. If it was up to NBC, NBC would definitely have that game at night. That would have definitely been a whiteout game. That would have definitely been a different environment, a more aggressive environment, a tougher environment for Michigan. But because of the greed of Fox, Penn State has I almost Penn State has a beating coming. Let's put it that way. Don is not an every down back. I'm not sure. I think he's more every down than Blake Corum. He's definitely a better receiver, so that makes him a better third down back, and he's surely built sturdier naturally, built more naturally sturdy than Blake Corum as well. So I think he's definitely an every down back. Blake Corum has kind of built his body to be who he is today. Mullings only a junior for sure. What's going on with Alex Orgy? The Alex Orgy thing is a conundrum. I am very shocked that Alex Orgy has not been seen on the field, especially since they even talked about him on kick return. I think an athlete like Alex Orgy has to be on the field. They have to find a way to get him out there, or he is a threat to transfer. Um, Whether or not he plays quarterback or not, I don't know. Benegal look good. They've got Davis Warren. They've got, you know what I mean, Tuttle. These guys are good quarterbacks, but Alex Orgy is absolutely has to be on the field. Mullings a converted linebacker. He is. Edwards' legs die with contact this year. Something has changed. Yeah, he is. And they've talked about that. But I think it could be because of the injuries he's been dealing with. I'm just gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and believe what he's saying. That's all we have to go off of right now. But I don't know. Did you hear about Utah's NIL? I did. Every scholarship player got a truck today. That's insane. The fact that the fact that it was Utah of all schools to get an NIL deal like that is bananas. And for everybody to have a truck is even more bananas. Uh, I'd be surprised if they don't get some surprise recruits going there just for the strength of the possibility of getting a truck. So that's interesting. Very interesting. Roman, most underrated wide receiver in the country, catch of the year, and crickets from the media. I agree. Roman Wilson is the most underrated wide receiver in college football. I'm not saying he's the best. He is not the best wide receiver in college football. He is the most underrated, however. And I'm fine with it. Keep underrating Roman. Keep allowing them to get 2 and 3 touchdowns a game. I'm okay with it. If that's the attention that the country wants to show him, allow them to show him that attention and allow Roman to show you who he is. All right. Let's get those likes up. 19 likes. We're working our way there. Let's get those likes up. Make sure to share the stream. Follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. What else we got? Brano 2 times. Yeah, Roman wearing that number one. Well, yo, it must be something in that number one jersey, right? It's like they pull it out of a magical box or something. You put that thing on, and all of a sudden you play well. So, other than Andrew Anthony wore it last year, right? He didn't exactly play like number one, but shout out to him because he is balling this year. So shout out to Andrew for what he's doing this year. Jim said JJ was running 4.4s in practice. I believe that. JJ is very athletic, and I believe he's running 4.4s. Pure Montana, I agree. What did he say? New clock rule sucks. I hate that too, man. I hate it for college football. It's one of the things that differentiated college football from the pro product. If you want college football to be pro football, just say that. Otherwise, leave our things alone, like the freaking clock. Go back to the way the clock was. But that being said, and let me know if you agree with this. As much as I hate it for college football, I think it works in favor of teams like Michigan. I think it's really good for Michigan actually, but I still don't like it. NCAA is different from the NFL. Exactly. The commercials are still long. Yeah, man. New look clock. Wilson ran a 4.33. Yeah, Wilson's fast. Like fast for sure. Inside the end zone. I really don't like already said that. All right. Let's move on. I'll give my score prediction now. Anybody new here that hasn't already, drop your score predictions. I predict the Wolverines beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The Golden Gophers this week by a score of 47 to 6. 47 to 6 is my score prediction. Samaj Morgan to the next Wilson. Samaj Morgan, and this is gonna be strong. I think Samaj Morgan is going to be better than Roman Wilson. I think Samaj Morgan, and not necessarily, obviously, Roman Wilson's having an all-time Michigan season so far, right? But as an overall prospect, as an overall wide receiver, Samaj Morgan, give me Samaj Morgan. I think he's going to be better than even Roman Wilson for sure. Otis says 37-16, 16 points. Account 22, 41-7. Pure Montana 47-6. Brano 45-10. Moose 42-3. Sounds about right. Starters stay in 56-3. That's man, again with the new clock, I think it's harder for Michigan to do that just because of their style of play. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. Morgan's quick, shifty. Can't wait to see more. Yeah, man, that back shoulder, the throw and the catch were amazing a couple weeks ago, and I want him. I want to see him on the field more. I want to see Darius Clemens on the field more. If I'm being honest, he's got a bigger body. He's a guy that I think could be a real factor for Michigan going forward. That's if Minnesota returns their running back. That's true. Then the cheerleaders in the fourth quarter. Excited to see Clemens healthy. Yeah, man. The count 22. Me too. Darius Clemens is what more like the prototype wide receiver that I think Michigan wants to get going forward. Um, he's a big body. He's a fast guy. I remember seeing him not in this spring game, but in last year's spring game. The catch he made on the deep ball was beautiful. I want to see him blossom, and I think he can at Michigan. Should put Morgan in number 21. If he continues to improve, that would be something. Yeah, Morgan in number 21. Des Bryant's old number. I mean, Des Bryant. Desmond Howard's old number would be phenomenal, actually. Love to see Clemens myself. Could be an X factor by the end of the season. I believe that. I think so wholeheartedly. Isn't Oregon playing Washington this week? Is that this week? If so, that's a big game. That's a game of the week. I will be watching that game. If they're playing at the same time as Michigan, though, I'll have to be. Well, YouTube TV offers multiple screens, so I'll watch it. Love to see Clemens. Yep. I'm getting Ronnie Bell vibes from Tyler Morris. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. He does give off Ronnie Bell vibes. Tyler Morris. I think he also has the opportunity to be a difference maker too, though. I think he's a little better athlete than Ronnie Bell, even at this stage. But we'll see. Moose right on. What did Moose say this time? Samaj Morgan's gonna. Oh, okay. Yeah, Moose is right about that. Want to see. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some other games around the conference. Obviously, the other state takes on Maryland. Maryland is a team that I have ranked. I think they should be ranked. I think they can give the other state some problems. What do you guys think? I did pick the other state to win the game, but I think Maryland can surely give them some problems. Maryland gave them problems last year. Maryland gave us some problems last year, if I'm being honest, but I think they can definitely give them some problems. Contract Harbaugh big contract announcement on bye week. That makes sense. That makes sense. Otis John 33-28 Maryland. I can see how it can happen. I wouldn't be surprised. Maryland will scare LSU. I agree with that 1000%. At the very least, they give them a scare. I'm going to say Maryland gets the upset. All right, let's talk about that, by the way. If Maryland gets that upset, I don't want to hear from a fan of the other state for the rest of the season. Not to say that Maryland's a pushover. This isn't to poo-poo on Maryland. But those guys in that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus have been talking like they are the bee's knees. They've been talking like they are far and away the best team in the Big Ten. Like they're gonna run away with this thing. Like Michigan isn't here, by the way. Like Michigan hasn't dominated that team the last 2 years. Like Michigan isn't going to dominate them again in the Big House. Like they aren't allergic to the elements. And even when the elements aren't in play, I last season in Columbus, bright and sunny, they still get dominated. They're a joke of a team, and if Maryland beats them, I don't want to. In fact, I'm blocking all comments from the other state after that. Maryland wins. If it does hurt, it hurts the conference overall. It does. That's another thing to think about, and it's sad that we have to think about that. It's sad that we have to look out for the other state in that fashion. We have to think about their future as it pertains to even our future. And I don't like it, and I don't like that they put me in a position to have to think about their future. I want Maryland to win. I want Ohio State to lose every game the rest of the way. But if they do, I understand it puts a hurting on the Big Ten and the product overall. But I still want it to happen. I don't care. It would be worth it though. Absolutely. I'm gonna say Maryland 42-28. Ryan Day will be crying. Right. Oh, if Ryan Day loses that game, he will be checking in to the offices of Dr. Phil. We're gonna have to talk about it. We're gonna have to. Well, what's going on, Ryan? Jim Knowles isn't aggressive this year. They got him dialed back. That's fair. Um, that's fair. Lil Tua need to show out. Lil Tua without that, 55-yard Marvin hold. OSU only runs for 70 yards on Notre Dame. Yeah, that's fair. I think it's holding on every play. I'm not sure it's fair to call out that, particular play as holding. And if I'm being honest, that defensive back really wasn't trying to get in there and make that tackle. He did not make enough of an effort to get around or by or through Marvin Harrison. So he wasn't trying to tackle anybody. What's funny is if Ohio State had Tulia, it'd be a better team. That's a fact. That is an absolute fact. I wanted to pay homage to Crying Ryan, so I picked a fight with my geriatric neighbor. This is a tough football team. This team's tough. No, they're not. They're not. They're soft with a capital T. They're soft. Very soft. He really wanted smoke with Lou Holtz, though. That's funny. All right, so we gave our score predictions. Mine 47-6 in favor of the guys in blue. You guys gave yours. I didn't give a score prediction on Maryland, the other state. I just think the other state, because of the talent level, will prevail in the end, and that game is in Columbus, I believe. So I think they get that win there. A lot of you guys though picking Maryland. And I wouldn't be surprised if Maryland won that game. Brando's SOF capital T. What's all this swell up, Claude? What's all this taking all this air for, Claude? 38-6. That's a good score. I can see that happening. 38-6. Proud to be from. He did say that. We're proud to be from Ohio. You're from New Hampshire, sir. You're from New Hampshire. I'm from Ohio. You're from New Hampshire. But yeah, guys, it's been another fun live. Thank you all for tapping in with your guy. Uh, Hopefully, we have a lot to cheer about after this Saturday. Hopefully, we have a lot to cheer about going forward. I'm sure we will. Jim Harbaugh signing that contract will give me a lot to cheer about. Give us all some rest. Go blue for sure. Be sure to follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. Until next time, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.